Hey, my name is Shelly and this is my channel, Shell Space. So today's video, I'm going to be doing a fall TBR. Now this is like for the 3 months, October, November, and December. I recently went through all of my books and kind of organized them and like categorized them in Goodreads. And I realized that I have 128 physical books that I have not read. 128. Like for me, that's way too many. All of these books that I'm going to be reading in the fall are physical reads. So I'm really hoping to knock it down to at least 100 books by the end of the year and then continue working on that in 2024. So I've reorganized everything. And as you can tell, there's a big old stack of books right beside me. So I guess without further ado, let's get started. So the first book I have is a recent addition to my physical TBR, and that would be Harrow the Ninth by Tanzamir. This is the second in the Lock Tomb series. Now it's not a trilogy, it's a series. So so I read Gideon the Ninth last month. Spoiler alert for my wrap-up. But I had kind of like mixed feelings about it. I loved the characters and the writing style and the world. Just wasn't so crazy about the murder mystery plotline. So I'm really curious to continue on with Harrow. I'm probably going to read this audiobook because one of my favorite audiobook narrators, Mira Cork, does the audiobook narration, and she is freaking awesome. So I'm going to continue on. I heard this series gets weirder and confusing and just really out there, and I am 100% for that. So another book that I've had on my physical TBR for quite some time is Dreams Underfoot by Charles D. Lint. Charles D. Lint is a Canadian author that like mostly focuses on urban fantasies, all in this place called Newford, I think it is. Yeah, Newford. So each book is kind of like a standalone book, but they're all like it's just like a connected series. So like you'll have different characters from different books have their own POVs. I read a couple of his books years and years and years ago, but this is the first book in the series, and I want to restart the series because I think it's severely underrated. I highly recommend this author for sure if you like urban fantasies with a bit of metaphysics. So you have like astral projection and seeing ghosts and stuff like that. Then I highly recommend this book because the series and this author because it's just criminally underrated in my opinion. The next two are a series that I actually started like last year or the year before, I can't remember, but I have like all of this author's work. I adore this author, and that would be Juliette Marillier. Now, this is what is it actually called? The Blackthorn and Grim trilogy. I read Dreamer's Pool a couple years ago. Loved it, obviously. So I'm going to be continuing on with Tower of Thorns and then hopefully Den of Wolves by the end of the year. If you like Robin Hobb's like writing style but want more of like an Irish setting, this is definitely a series for you. This author is definitely an author that you should read. Her most notable book is The Daughter of the Forest, which a lot of people are recently reading, but yes, I highly recommend this author and this series. Another criminally underrated series, in my opinion, is the Symphony of Ages series by Elizabeth Hayden. I have reread Rhapsody. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And then I read The Prophecy, which is the sequel series, and now I'm going to be reading Destiny by the end of the year. I will be continuing on with the Symphony of Ages series 2024. I was really hoping to get to it this year, but then I got distracted. So yeah, if you like really epic fantasy on an epic scope, but want a little bit of romance in it, this series is 100% for you. The reason why I haven't finished this book is because I have been distracted by other series, and this would be a reread for me, and it's also 800 pages long, so I've kind of been dragging my feet because I wanted to experience new things, but I'm determined to finish at least the first trilogy this year. The next book I would like to get to by the end of 2023 is Eyes of the Void by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is, oh gosh, what is it called? The Architect Trilogy? Shit. The Final Architecture Trilogy. So I read Shards of Earth earlier this year. Really loved it. I'm a huge Adrian Tchaikovsky fan. Like, he's an auto-buy author for me. Sometimes his work works for me, sometimes it doesn't, but the ones that work for me so well. The first series, the first book, Shards of Earth, really worked for me, and I'm very excited to continue on with Eyes of the Void. This is a space opera, like advanced space sci-fi space opera. So if you're like really into sci-fi, I think this is definitely a read. If you're beginning sci-fi, I would not start with this series, but I highly recommend it for sci-fi lovers, and honestly, it's great. It's Adrian Tchaikovsky. I mean, I can't say anything else. Okay, so the next book I really want to read, mostly just to get to the next stage in the series, and that is The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. I can't believe I almost forgot his name. The reason why I haven't read this is because I'm not super crazy about this original trilogy, but I'm very, very, very curious to continue on to the First Law world with the standalones and then the last trilogy. So I definitely will continue on. I'm going to listen to this audiobook because the audiobook narrator is just like one of the best. So yeah, I want to continue this by the end of the year so I can start the next standalones in 2024. Same similar situation as the last book, Jade Legacy. I read the first 2 books and I just need to complete this last book. The first 2 books in the series really didn't work for me. One, I'm not crazy into family dramas, and 2, especially crime family dramas. Like, they're just not for me. But the world was really cool. The writing was really well done. So I want to love the series, and I've heard that this book in particular is just amazing. So I really, really, really want to complete this trilogy by the end of the year. And, you know, fingers crossed, I actually will, but it's not really a priority, unfortunately. I know all these people that are like, this is one of my favorite series of all time, is probably like shaking their heads at me, but I don't know. I want to love it, but I just can't. I don't know why. The next book I want to get to is Wall of Storms. I mentioned in one of my vlogs that I picked it up. I did pick it up, and I decided to put it down because I was reading way too many like intense, battle-heavy books, and it was just like, I need my brain for this book series because there's a lot in this world. I will be doing a buddy read with Christy from Christy's Corner, pending her reading The Grace of Kings. So she has to read The Grace of Kings, and then we're going to pick this up together. Like Greenbone Saga, I want to see what the hype is about. I want to see what everybody loves about the series, and honestly, I think I will love this series probably more than Greenbone Saga, but yeah. And I recently read some of Ken Liu's work, and I really, really want to get to his stuff. So this is like a top priority series. The next 2 are, well, the next one for sure, and then the sequel possibly. So this is The Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Li Tiang, and I have seen this book since it came out, and I wanted to get it, but I just wasn't in the mood for this type of story. But recently I've been really, really loving Chinese dramas, so I want to get into this world. So I got this book, and then I got The Heart of the Sun Warrior. I'm not sure, is this a continuation of this story, or are they both like standalones in the same world? I don't know. Regardless, I'm definitely going to read The Daughter of the Moon Goddess this year, and then hopefully, if I can fit it in, the Heart of the Sun Warrior, because I mean, guys, look at these covers. I gotta get the sticker off, but look at these covers. They're so beautiful. I even pre-ordered her new, I think it's a novella. So I pre-ordered the novella. Kind of along the same lines. This is a continuation. The Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Lim. Lovely cover. I read The Six Crimson Cranes recently and just loved it. I actually did pick this up and I kind of started, but I just wasn't in the mood for that like whimsical kind of like fairy tale-esque story. But I definitely want to continue it by the end of the year. It's just, yeah, I'm a new Elizabeth Lim fan. If you watched a couple of my videos, this next book is not a surprise to anybody, and that is The Labyrinth Heart, the last book in The Rook and the Rose by M.A. Cork. I recently did a reread of Mask of Mirrors, and then I read Liar's Heart Liar's Not. I've recently read Liar's Not and loved them both. So I'm just waiting right now for the audiobook to come in through my library, and I'm next in line, so hopefully I'll be able to get to this soon, because I really want to complete the series, but then at the same time I really don't, because I really love this series. So I don't know. But yes, I'm very excited to read this, hopefully like in the next few weeks. We're almost there. I promise you this video is almost done. Okay, so The Daughter of Redwater by Ed McDonald. I wanted to read this back in September, but Scrib for some reason decided to take it away from me, and so it's not available until October, which is freaking stupid. I didn't even listen to that many audiobooks, so I don't know why they took like literally 20 titles away from me. So this is one of them. So yeah, I'm gonna read this. It's definitely probably a good spooky October book with the creepy like skulls and stuff. So I definitely think this is a really great October read. So hopefully Scrib will give me back my audiobook in October, and I can get to this then. Another creepy October book that I may get to if I have time is Nettle and Bone by T. Cain Fisher. I've never read anything by T. Cain Fisher, but since it's such a small book, I might be able to squeeze it in between the huge books that I have planned. So yeah, super creepy looking cover. Like, I didn't actually look at the cover until I got it, and it's really freaking creepy. Okay, another one that I want to like read in between other books is The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. I've heard, like I said, I've heard amazing things about this book. I'm sold on Ken Liu, so I am very excited to read this. This can also be read, it's a bunch of short stories, so this can be read in between other books slowly. There might be a buddy read going on that I want to take part in, and that is For the Surviving Sky. I basically bought this book for the cover because the cover is amazing. It's one of those covers, the more you look at it, the more you see. I don't know much about this. It's more like a sci-fantasy kind of book about a married couple. And that's all I know. And the beautiful cover. So besides that, I really don't know much about it. But yeah, like I said, cover, sci-fantasy, married couple, check, you got me. The next book I know that I'm going to get to, because I'm actually reading it right now, is The Fractured Dark by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is the second book in the Devoured World series. I read The Blight and Stars earlier in spring and loved it. And yeah, so this is like a sci-fantasy, like enemies to lovers kind of thing. But the world is really cool and really interesting. Basically, we live in a future where the Earth is like, I can't even remember, but the Earth, we're not on Earth anymore. We're in space. And the society is basically run by companies. And kind of like how Korea has like the company and it's passed down to son, like a royalty kind of thing. It's like that. And yeah, and people can also like upload themselves into other bodies. So all of that is really cool. But the first book I really loved, and I'm super excited. I'm only in the first chapter so far because I just got it yesterday. But yeah, along the same lines, we also have another space opera fantasy. This is Hunt the Stars by Jessie Mihalk. I probably said that wrong. Yeah, along the same lines. I think after I finish devouring The Fractured Dark, I'm going to want to continue on with like kind of like the same similar kind of theme. And I've heard that this book is pretty good. Plus, there's a little teeny weeny fox right there. And I love foxes. So I'm going to continue on, hopefully maybe November or December. The next 3 books I know that I'm going to get to because I actually already started to read it. This is my second attempt at this book, and this is The Shadow of What Was Lost. The first attempt was through audiobook, and the audiobook narrator is Michael Kramer, and he is known for doing like Stormlight and Wheel of Time. And I found that this book was too similar to those, and I wanted this book to be something different. So I decided to pick it up. I decided to stop listening to it and reread it from the beginning. And honestly, I'm really happy that I'm rereading because I didn't remember a freaking single thing. So I'm going to be slowly reading this because it is a freaking huge book through the next month or so. And then if I can fit it in, I'm going to be continuing on with The Echo of Things to Come And then The Light of All That Falls. I've heard that you need to read these books like really close together because there's so much information. I mean, honestly, why doesn't anybody say that about Malazan? Because Malazan is super confusing, but everybody spaces it out. But everybody recommends reading these back. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, I'm hoping to finish the series by the end of the year. If not, the beginning of next year. So the next book I don't have physical copies of yet, except for this one, which is my current read, and that is Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. I want to finish out the Mistborn series, so I have this one, and then I have the Secret History, I think it is. They're like the in-between novella, and then the Lost Metal. So I'd like to read those by the end of the year. And then obviously Brandon Sanderson's Secret Project number 4. I'd like to get to that as well. So yeah, so I'm currently reading this as well through audiobook. So the next 2 I would like to get to are a continuation of a series. This is The Children of the Fallen Gods and The Mother of Death and Dawn by Clarissa Bodman, who is very popular right now. I personally love this series like way more than the other series. Personally, I finished The Daughter of No Worlds last month and I really liked it. I did start The Children of Fallen Gods, but I was reading like too many first-person narrative books about war, and I didn't realize that's where this book was heading. I should have known because like there's a war in the background, but that's the only reason I decided to put it down, because I was kind of sick of that narration and that plot line. So I decided to put it down. So I'm going to continue on with this book and then hopefully this book by the end of the year. The next 2 are The Girl and the Mountain and The Girl in the Moon by Mark Lawrence. These are the last 2 in the Ice Trilogy. I've recently become a very big fan of Mark Lawrence, and I want to continue on with most of his backlist. But I read The Girl in the Stars earlier in the year, probably in the spring, but I've held off because I really want to read these when it's cold out, because I think that these are a perfect like cold weather read. Yeah, super weird world, very interesting, very unique. It's more plot driven than character driven, but the character is very unique as well. I don't think I'm selling that right. I think this is in the same world as the Red Sister trilogy. I don't know if this is like a prequel trilogy or like after. I'm not sure. I read the Red Sister like years ago, and I'm probably going to do a reread of it in 2024. I really recommend this book. It's a quick series. It's interesting. If you like sci-fantasy, like really out there weird stuff, I think you'll enjoy this series for sure. So last but not least, Godkiller by Hannah Killer. Yeah, it's a pretty short read. I was actually surprised about how short it is. It's not even 300 pages. And yeah, like this may be a perfect spooky book to read. Hopefully I can fit it in October, if not early November. I think I'm being a little bit ambitious trying to read 42 books by the end of the year. Probably not going to get to all of these books, but I'm really hoping to get to majority of them. On average, I read about 8 books a month, so if you do the calculations, that does not add up. Especially since some of these are like twice the size of one book. I really hope I don't get distracted by shiny new books or other recommendations from other YouTubers that are just loving these books, because, you know, fear of missing out and you want to read everything, but I really want to read what I want to read. So wish me luck. Really, really, I will need it. Have you read any of these books? And let me know if I should prioritize some of them over the others. What are some of your TBR goals? Do you have goals? Do you have a pile of books like I do that you want to get to by the end of the year, and then you're panicking right now because the end of the year is only 3 months away, and then you realize that you have a stack of books that are going to fall over and crush you? If you've made it to the end, please leave like a book stack emoji. As always, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.